Hi, I'm Peggy Bray. When you're working in a disaster resource center, you're almost certain to encounter people with various intellectual and developmental disabilities, and you'll want to know the best ways to communicate, to identify their needs, and to help them feel safe. Today you'll be hearing from several of the region's top experts in IDD. Jamie Daniel, the director of the Oregon Council on Developmental Disabilities, has been working with people with various developmental disabilities for over 15 years. Gabrielle Gadon and Karen Londal, both of Oregon Self-Advocacy Coalition, have lived experience with intellectual and developmental disabilities and will share lessons from their perspectives. What all these experts have to tell you today will help you feel confident that you can make a positive impact on DRC guests with intellectual and developmental disabilities. So thank you for taking the time to learn some new skills before disaster strikes. Don't forget, this is part of a series all about operating disaster resource centers, and we have lots of other topics you're welcome to check out. Okay, let's go see our experts.
Hi, I'm Gabrielle Gadon, and welcome to my office at the Oregon Self-Advocacy Coalition. I'm here to help you feel as confident as possible working with people with intellectual and developmental disabilities and helping them feel welcome, safe, and supported in the Disaster Resource Center.
My name is Karen Londal. Welcome to my home. We are talking about the shelters, how people can use the shelters, and how people can be supporter in a shelter, how people can help people with IDD.
Hi, I'm Jamie Daniel, and welcome to my office at the Oregon Council on Developmental Disabilities. Intellectual and developmental disabilities is a broad term. Today you'll hear me use the term IDD for short, but what's the difference between IDD, mental illness, or other disabilities? Intellectual and developmental disabilities impact the way a person communicates, thinks, learns, takes care of themselves, or moves around in their communities. You might be familiar with cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, and autism spectrum disorder. These would fall under IDD. Some people with these disabilities receive support from another person to dress, bathe, or eat. Others may use a device like an iPad or a letterboard to communicate. Some may use a wheelchair to get around, and others may need assistance with everyday activities like working, shopping, and maintaining their home.
For me living here, I can't write out checks, and I can't write out my bills. I have to ask my sister to help me, But that's great, but I can do other things, I can go to the grocery store, I can walk around, I can take my dog to the vet. I'm very capable. And I could help other people if they need some help in the shelter too.
We should differentiate between IDD and disabilities in general and between IDD and mental illness. We have another segment about people with physical disabilities, but today we'll be focused on intellectual and developmental disabilities that are usually invisible. In fact, we have reason to think that most disabilities aren't obvious on the surface, and that's even more true for people with IDD. Then, mental illness includes diagnoses like anxiety, schizophrenia, or substance abuse disorder. It's possible that you'll meet people in the DRC who have an IDD and a mental illness, but they are different things.
So what can you do to help people with IDD? Well, first, communication is very important. Assume that people are competent and talk to people with disabilities with the same respect you use with any other adult. Explain the situation and that you are there to help them adjust to DRC. If it seems like a person doesn't understand what you're saying, try saying it another way, rephrase and break down big ideas into smaller pieces.
Talk to people with disabilities like anybody else doesn't have a disability. If a person doesn't understand, just try to do a different way so they can understand what you're talking about. Like I can talk, but sometimes I don't know. Sometimes I might have somebody say it a couple times to me, because sometimes we work slowly, and some people, because our brains work a different way. But you need both sides talking, because one person might have a different idea, and one person might have another idea. Just break down to a small thing in different pieces. You have to do it step by step.
Also, there's nothing wrong with just asking the person how they communicate best. Let them tell you or show you. There are lots of communication methods out there. If you need help, tell your supervisor. They may be able to find someone who can help you both communicate. People may have a hard time telling you what their needs are, or you may not understand what they're asking for. This is another case for asking questions. People have different ways of feeling safe. Also, they may not have the ability to speak and to share that with you. They might use other communication methods, like sign language. Some people who sign use American Sign Language, but remember that others use adapted sign language that they've developed with the people in their life. Not all sign language is the same. For people who use communication devices, we have communication boards and some other tools available to us. And people sometimes bring their own communication devices, such as iPads or a memory board. Don't forget to find a way for them to charge those electronic communication devices and give them priority.
Some guests with IDD come in with their caregiver. If you're talking to the guest, talk directly to the guest, not the caregiver. Let them answer first. The caregiver will know when to step in and assist, or you can always ask them for help.
Just if I came in this shelter, I want people to talk to me instead of my sister, because I'm a person. I'm not like a little kid anymore. I am an adult, and sometimes people have to come through me. Like when I go to the doctor, I just don't want people to say, "Hey, we need to talk to your sister instead of you." That feels really embarrassing.
Some people communicate by screaming, yelling, or using their bodies when they are stressed. As we've talked about in other segments of this series, if someone's in DRC, they're likely to be scared or upset, and we assume they've experienced trauma. Many of us thrive in routine environments, and coming to the DRC may be disruptive and even more upsetting than for someone without an intellectual or developmental disability. So we may need to provide extra support to help people feel safe.
If I get out of my return, my life will be kind of disorganized, Everything will go out of sorts. Then I have to figure out what to do next, You need to get focused on your return.
Guests can usually tell you if they receive support for their intellectual or developmental disabilities. If you feel you need extra help or support, be willing to inform your supervisor.
For guests with IDD who live in their own home or with their families, they might come in without the support they need. If you do find yourself in a situation where the need is out of your ability or comfort zone, always feel free to notify your supervisor. They can work with the Emergency Operations Center to get the people, supplies, or equipment you need. One other thing that can come up is abuse of people with IDD. Across our region, there are 24-hour lines available to report abuse. They're listed in the shelter manual. Investigators are available to help DRC guests if they're in danger. Look, listen, and link. It can be challenging when a disaster strikes early in the month, right after people have spent their EBT benefits. Just after they filled their fridge and cupboards, they lose electricity and everything in their fridge spoils or their cupboards burn. In cases like these, we'll bring in people who can restore that benefit within the state rules and regulations. We try to have their case manager reach out to them directly, so it's a known person. We're also working on linking health information. This will help us even better anticipate their needs and have things available before they arrive or shortly after. We try to have private spaces for guests to meet with their case managers when they get here, but sometimes it's a corner rather than a room. We just want to make sure we're thinking about where we might set up service provisions inside the DRC. Also, remember that anyone in the DRC is also living their life. They're accomplishing things independently or with support every day already. We're not swooping in as if we're saving them from their own life. We're just trying to help them get through this traumatic event.
I wouldn't mind going to a shelter if something happens to my house. I mean, that's a safe way to go. We could put puzzles together. I would be worried about I'm gonna take my dog, actually, because I need my little puppy. And I might need a comfortable blanket. I would give him a list on what kind of medicine I have, because I take it all by myself. Make sure we contact our families, and I want to know where they can see us, you know, in case if they need a shelter, if they can come in with us too. Just be kind, be thoughtful. Tell them how to sign in and sign out, how to find a place to sleep, how to be comfortable when they come in. Just greet them.
All right, that's it for today. I hope you're feeling more confident that you can have a positive impact for someone with an intellectual or developmental disability in the DRC. We talked about some specific things you might see and some strategies and resources that are available to you. Don't forget that we have a whole series of training all about operating a DRC, and you're welcome to check out our other topics as well. Thank you for watching.